It's time to look at some brand new independent horrors that I've seen recently that you may or may not have heard of yet. Let's start binging.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I kick ass for the Lord. I kick ass for the Lord.
And I'm all out of bubblegum. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide?
That cold ain't the weather. That's death approaching.
We belong dead.
Sometimes that is one of them.
This is no dream. This is really happening.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Sometimes.
You're eating maggots, how do they taste?
Sometimes.
All out of bubblegum.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Eat shit and die, Ricky!
Eat shit and live, Bill.
Replacement call.
Mostly.
There will be blood. Groovy.
I've got to return some videotapes.
Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the path less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see with the usual Hollywood fare. I'll indicate in the review down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go. SATURNALIA is new on demand on Amazon Prime from Terror Films. It's directed by Daniel John Lerch and written by Daniel John Lerch, Julia Nilsen, and Darrell Szarka Workman. A headstrong teen, Miriam, played by Sophia Anthony, is sent by her parents to a strict boarding school run by the relentless Miss Hemlock, played by someone solely named Velvet. Miriam goes through the normal hazing by her fellow students and plans to run off like she has with other boarding schools. But this school is not like the others. Someone in a white mask is killing unruly students and using their parts for an Illuminati-esque ritual. As Miriam's tenure at the school becomes more problematic, Miss Hemlock and the masked killers are itching to make her the next sacrifice. SATURNALIA is an awesome low-budget homage to the Italian giallo, specifically and arguably one of the best gialli, Suspiria. From the story structure that opens with Miriam arriving at the school by cab on a rainy night, to the elaborate death sequences, to the gothic architecture of the school, to the dramatic lighting bathing scenes in reds and blues, one can tell the filmmakers behind this one hold Argento in high regard. This love for gialli is evident in every second of SATURNALIA, even though some scenes are directly lifted from Suspiria. The film differentiates itself from the classic film well enough so as not to be called a complete copy. The differentiation isn't as strong as Suspiria, but still the way director Daniel John Lerch is able to recreate the feel of those Italian films is admirable. The filmmaker zooms in on the elaborate and ornate decor, suggesting that the school has been around for ages. There's also a great attention to space, as the school becomes maze-like in some scenes, as masterful focus is given to the fore and background. Add in the way dramatic scenes are bathed in reds and blues, and this is just an intriguing little movie to look at. The acting is pretty strong. I like the tough-as-nails lead, Sophia Anthony, who plays Miriam. She's almost too tough, so later on when she actually lets her emotions show, it felt a little bit less believable. Still, she did a good job. I also liked Velvet's performance as the over-the-top Miss Hemlock. While her role is more cliché as the warden-esque character here, she gives it enough character and sassiness to make it shine. The climax of the movie is quite disturbing, with a throwback to both Suspiria and Anthropophagus, of all things. That's all I'll say, but it is quite gruesome. Still, there was quite a long time in SATURNALIA where the cliches of boarding school movies, and by proxy, women in prison movies, appear. Because those scenes of hazing the new girl, the strict warden, headmistress, and the favoritism to specific students while punishing others were so familiar, I kind of checked out a bit during the first half of SATURNALIA. But the film got infinitely more interesting the more of what was going on behind the scenes at the school is revealed. I almost skipped out on this one because the poster really didn't do the film justice, and the use of the white plastic masks you can buy at any Walgreens around Halloween time just looked cheap. But take a chance on it. If you're a Giallo fan, I think you're going to be surprised how well Daniel John Lerch is able to capture that feeling of those old Italian films. Saturnalia recreates the essence of what I love about Giallo films. It makes me wonder what the filmmaker can do without such attention to familiar beats and using some more original material. That kind of seems like I'm ripping on the film, but I'm not. Saturnalia really surprised me, and I definitely recommend it to gialli lovers everywhere to see what can be accomplished on such a low budget. Dead Lover is in select theaters from Lightbulb Film Distribution and Yellow Veil Pictures. It's directed by Grace Glowicki and written by Grace Glowicki and Ben Petrie. A lonely gravedigger, played by Grace Glowicki, fears dying alone and sets out to find herself a lover. She meets a young fancy man, played by Ben Petrie, at a funeral for his sister, and the two forge a love for the ages. But the fancy man has some problems with his seed farm, if you know what I mean, so he's off to a fancier doctor in England to get his pipes fixed, as he wants to marry the gravedigger and give her the children she deserves. But when the boat sinks at sea, the gravedigger is delivered her lover's finger, the only part the authorities could recover. Known to have quite the green thumb, the gravedigger sets out to regrow a new lover from the severed finger. Looniness of the highest order commences. Grace Glowicki and Ben Petrie, the partners who were last seen in the excellent horror film Honey Bunch, are back, and this time, while it's horror, it's something entirely different. Dead Lover plays out much like a stage play, with over-the-top acting that aims for the cheap seats, dramatic and cartoonish lighting, and sets that feel as if they were made in a high school gym shop class. It's this type of DIY style that not only adds the charm to this grotesque and somewhat sweet little movie about longing for love and losing it, just when you think you might be happy. Don't get me wrong, Dead Lover is not made without skill or effort by the entire cast. It just feels as if everyone had a blast making this offbeat spectacle of a film, and they didn't break the bank putting it all together. Glowicki steals the show here as she sports a thick Cockney accent and a heavy layer of dirt on her as the gravedigger. She has all the best lines, and most of the action centers around her longing for love. Glowicki plays her as a confused outcast who doesn't really know anything about the world other than what she has learned from the cemetery and during funerals. There's an innocence about her, even when she's murdering people and digging graves, and that truly stands out in her performance. When the flamboyant fancy man, Ben Petrie, shows up, it seems like love at first sight, or smell, that is, as the gravedigger smells of the earth and the corpses she buries, a stench that cannot be washed off. Petrie doesn't particularly play the type of hero or romantic interest, but for some reason the gravedigger likes him despite his feminine ways. It's not exactly a match that feels made in heaven, but that only adds to the oddity of this film. Bathed in dramatic lighting of all sorts of colors and animated when the film's budget gets in the way, if you have the pleasure of checking out Dead Lover in theaters, the filmmakers have also provided Stinkovision, a scratch and sniff card, for audiences to experience the film's various grotesque scents. This William Castle-esque edition makes this strange film even more unique. And unique is going to be the word that best describes Dead Lover. It never takes itself too seriously, even when the drama is high. I laughed quite a bit at the quips of the naive gravedigger, as well as the sewing circle of ladies who gossip about the desperate lass and represent what the world around the gravedigger is thinking. You're definitely not going to see or smell a movie like this one. Quirky to a fault, Dead Lover is a wonderful little experimental horror film, but those who take their horror seriously might be put off. But if you couldn't get enough of the pairing of Glowicki and Petrie from Honey Bunch, Dead Lover continues to display this pair's bizarre take on horror and love. The Arborist is new on demand from Dark Sky Films. It's written and directed by Andrew Mudge. A landscape architect named Ellie, played by Lucy Waters, and her troubled son Wyatt, played by Hudson West, accept a job to remove trees from a massive estate owned by the reclusive Arthur, played by Will Lyman. After taking on the daunting task, Ellie realizes it is beyond her means, but needs the money, so she presses on. The exhaustion takes its toll on Ellie, and the property's dark history begins to seep into the psyche of Wyatt. Reminiscent of The Orphanage, The Shining, and Session 9, The Arborist is a slow burner with some vivid and disturbing imagery. While there is a lot of time spent following Ellie and Wyatt in their day-to-day doings, the film eventually picks up steam once details of the property's controversial history as a mental facility for children come to light. Some may nope out because of the leisurely pace, though. The Arborist feels like an old-timey ghost story, with the focus being on setting the dire mood first and then telling why it feels so gloomy later. Peppered in are visions only Wyatt can see, leaving the viewer in the dark as to whether this might be all in Wyatt's head. These images are surreal and disturbing, such as a boy dressed as a crow slinking around the grounds. The film does a good job of highlighting feathered fears as Wyatt stabs large feathers through both cheeks in one twisted scene. The gruesome imagery compounds by the time we reach the climax of The Arborist. The pace was a detriment for me and kept me from completely enjoying this one. The acting is superb by all three of the cast members, but Wyatt's constant disobedience and tantrums did wear on me. So The Arborist proved to be a mixed bag for me. I really liked some of the imagery, but much of it came too little and too late for my complete investment. The film also seems to come to an understandable close, but then inexplicably decides for one or two more spooky sequences for good measure before the credits roll. I'll mildly recommend this one. I like what it's trying to do, but it did it just a bit too late in the game for me. See this one for the twisted imagery and pitch black history of the location, but your fast forward finger might get a little heavy with The Arborist. Play Dead is new on demand from Trinity Content Partners and Seven Tales. It's directed and written by Carlos Goitia. Allison, played by Paula Brasca, wakes up in a basement with 4 dead women. When she hears someone coming, she acts as if she is dead along with them and witnesses a masked man monster grabbing the bodies one at a time and taking them upstairs. Now Allison must find a way out before it's her turn to be taken upstairs, and she really doesn't want to know what is waiting for her once she's up there. The beauty of Play Dead lies in its simplicity. Women have been abducted, the murders have been committed, now all the man monster has to do is some kind of ritual that I won't reveal here. This film goes beyond where many films go because at this point, there's a final girl the slasher has to stalk and finally get defeated by. Instead of going down that tired slasher path, Play Dead takes a simple premise from someone playing possum in order to survive and finds a way to extend that to a very tight 1 hour and 10-minute movie. And all of it comes together in a perversely perfect way. It's not that Play Dead does anything too far outside of the slasher format. The killer is your basic Stitch-masked mute. He has a family of sorts, and that has everything to do with the abductions of the women in the basement. There's even a dinner scene that plays with some of the same themes that Texas Chainsaw Massacre does. Still, through the fast pacing, bare-bones script with very little dialogue, and a truly gruesome setting, filmmaker Carlos Goitia, who recently did the stylized anthology 100 Candles game, The Last Possession, delivers something unique and fun to watch. Goitia has a good eye for making this spin on the slasher genre feel fresh while using age-old tropes. With Play Dead, he skips the boring get-to-know-you part and just tosses the viewer into the action in what would be the last half hour of most slasher films. This film zooms in on this cat and mouse, giving just enough information for one to follow the story. Sure, the characters are not as developed as well, but this film cuts straight to the fun stuff that draws us all to slasher films in the first place. So slasher fans, you've got to check out Play Dead. It's going to surprise you. Blood Barn is new, streaming on Screambox from Cineverse and Bloody Disgusting. It's directed by Gabriel Bernini and written by Gabriel Bernini and Alexandra Jade. A group of kids head out to an old barn on the edge of a lake for a weekend of sex, drugs, and party harding. But soon restless evil spirits emerge with ties to one of the party people, and the chances of surviving this weekend grow slim. Blood Barn is a marvelous lo-fi love letter to the original Evil Dead. It's got possessed teens, some evil spirits, and a creepy barn instead of a creepy cabin. While the reasons for these horrors are kept nice and vague, the strange decor of the barn offers up enough clues to let the viewer know that some weird shit has gone down there before. Add in some of Raimi's trademark camera work, from odd angles to the old camera on the 2x4 trick to simulate the evil spirit's flying POV, and this film is sure to warm even the darkest Evil Dead fan's heart. Blood Barn takes full advantage of the locale, and especially the odd Tesseract-like interior of the barn, giving the whole film a labyrinthine feel. Things even get cosmic as some creative lighting, some cool tarps, and a whole lot of gore and blood are used as the big climactic battle between good and evil occurs. This film could serve as a fine lesson to modern filmmakers to make do with what you have and rely on creativity and ingenuity instead of an immense budget to make a thrilling descent into bloody horror. The acting ranges from okay to not so good, with the gals of the group getting the best lines and delivering them with the most competence. But Raimi's original wasn't setting the thespian high bar either, and if we can forgive The Evil Dead, I can forgive Bloodbarn. There are some downright funny interactions going on with this group, signifying some scripting talent happening, but the off-and-on sound doesn't do the film many favors. The kids often talk over one another, which doesn't help things. Nevertheless, there's an overall tone of genuine love for the horror genre present here. This is an unashamed homage to 80s DIY horror. If you thrilled at shot-on-video, do-it-yourself horror flicks that peaked in the 80s when everyone got their first camcorder, then this Bloodbarn will be worth checking out. Did you see any of these films? Are you gonna go check them out? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're